Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, I would say, to our Melbourne audience. I am Mechelle Orias, one of the education consultants at Aussizz Group Melbourne team. Thank you for joining us today with our session with aged care and community services sector and its pathway to residency, which will be discussed by one of our migration agents, the most enthusiastic Mr. Dharmendra Singh, after my presentation. And I can see a good numbers of attendees, and also I can see a lot of Filipino students joining in. I'm so happy and thank you for your time. So at the end of this lecture, we will be answering some of your questions, so stay tuned with us until the end. So if you have any questions, you can drop it in the chat box and we will answer as much as possible at the end of the session. So today we will be discussing about aged care community services. Aged care, individual support, disability support, community services in general, and its occupation, and to PR pathway to residency. So why aged care and community services sector? Commonly, majority of our audience or international students here aims for a greater rewards, that is personally and professionally. Personally, as an international student, or our main goal is to have the opportunity to residency here in Australia. Well, these courses, why these courses, especially the aged care sector courses and its employment or experiences in the field, effective July 1, it will be under the Australian labor agreement. That would mean it leads to something better, and that is the residency. And this part will be discussed further by our Mr. Dharmendra Singh after my presentation, as I said. Professionally, for employment aspect, health and community sector is one of the largest industries in Australia, and it has an easy employment to start with. Especially during the pandemic, it was greatly affected sector that was in distress due to shortage in the workforce. Particularly in the aged care and disability sector in the wider community. And now, post-pandemic, it still continuously requires more aged care and disability support workers that now the Australian government is giving high priority to address too, and also recognize its workers. So this is a very advantageous to those who are already in the field or to those who are aspiring to be part of the community sector in Australia. Because of this, it makes you who are currently working in the field and those who are aspiring to be, you are in a better position. Employment-wise, it is quite easy to land a job in this sector. So I can vouch for you for this. Many of our audience right now, they are my students, and in this, they are working in this sector. So this is quite a rewarding career that definitely you can make a real difference to people's lives. So let's now discuss what are the courses available in this sector. So first, we have Certificate 3 in Individual Support. So individual support commonly has 6 months to 1 year duration, depending on which provider you are enrolling. So yes, every education provider has different duration. So some other providers, they have 6 months, and some other provider, they have 1 year duration. We also have Certificate 4 in Aging Support, and Certificate 4 in Disability Support, which is commonly 52 weeks to 60 weeks, depending which provider. But there are as well education provider that runs program with Certificate 3 in Individual Support for 6 months, package it with Certificate 4 of Aging Support 6 months, making it for 1 year total duration, and you're gaining 2 qualifications at the same time, Individual Support and Certificate 4 of Aging Support. But either way, either of these courses, even just one, you are in a better position to be eligible potentially in the future for permanent residency. Talking about fees, it ranges from 6,500 if you go ahead with individual support, ranges to 12,000 if you take part with the certificate form aging support or disability support. So for your employment option, you can be a personal care assistant in an aged care or home care setting, or you can be a disability support worker in the general community setting. So to take note with these courses, even there are aged care facilities that they require an ongoing enrollment of any of these courses to be eligible to be working in their aged care facility. But there are as well aged care facilities that require completion of any of these courses for you to be employed in their aged care facility. But due to in-demand and shortage workforce, there are aged care facilities as well that they do not even require you to have any of this course for you to jumpstart a career in the industry. So that's why you will be in a better position, because this sector are in distress when it comes to workforce. So now let's move forward with the community services courses. Number one, we have Diploma of Community Services. So in any provider, the duration of Diploma Community Services is only 1 year, and for other providers, it takes 2 years. Cost ranges from 12,000 to 18,000, depending how long is the duration of the course. And when it comes to intake, commonly for higher education, it only offers February and July intake, but for vocational education sector, for Diploma of Community Services, we can enroll you anytime because they have monthly rolling intake. We also have Advanced Diploma of Community Services should you wish to continue higher qualification. Duration of this course is 1 year to 1.5 years, again, depending which education providers, which will range again from 12,000 to 18,000, depending which duration you are enrolling with. Classes for each courses, commonly only 2 days per week. And again, it has monthly rolling intake. As you can see in the slide, I highlighted an important note. Doing community services, this is quite tricky as well. For you to get a registration after doing the course or the education provider should be accredited with the Australian Community Workers Association, or the ACWA or ACWA, for you to get registration to be a community worker that will help you to be eligible in the permanent residency pathway, which will be discussed later on. Now, moving forward with the higher education, with the community service course, we have Bachelor of Community Services. Especially for other nationalities, let's say Indian communities, if you are coming from offshore, commonly you are required to do higher education for a higher chance of getting a visa. So Bachelor of Community Services is a good option for you to begin with. So duration of this one is 3 years for a full-time international student, 2 years because you are getting 1 year credit if you did complete a diploma level. So cost of Bachelor of Community Services will ranges from 12,000 to 15,000 per semester, depending which education provider you are joining with. We have private providers and we have universities. Of course, if we're talking about universities, it's quite more expensive than of those private providers. When it comes to higher education enrollment, classes range takes between 2 to 3 days per week, depending how many subjects you are taking in a day. So employment opportunity, of course, you will have in a general stream, you will be a community worker, community development officer, policy officer, or case manager, which eventually can take you something to better in the future pathway. Again, completion of this level eligible for graduate visa, which is the temporary residency, which will give you duration of 3 years. So again, completing Bachelor of Community Services under the higher education sector will give you opportunity to be in a graduate stream visa, which is the temporary residency, which will give you extra 3 years stay in Australia while you are working something for your PR pathway. So this is a very good courses to start with for those coming from offshore. So what's next? So for me, I'm working in the education department. So what's next for you if you want to or intend to get into this pathway? Of course, you can contact us at Aussizz Group. Across Australia, we have 26 offices. I, for myself, I'm Mechelle Orias again. I'm part of Melbourne team. So for Filipino community, I am assisting mainly Filipino community, but we have as well a diverse workforce. We have Indian, Pakistani, Nepali, Bangladesh. So we have a diverse workforce in our offices. So just visit any of our offices near you should you wish to get assistance into enrolling to any aged care courses, individual support, or community services courses. If you happen to be onshore, you can visit one of our offices near you. But if you are offshore, wherever you are, we can definitely assist you. So for offshore, what we do, we are normally requesting your CV or resume for us to have an initial assessment of your profile, and we can book you for a virtual consultation. You can book us so we can have a good discussion on what options that best for you if you happen to be offshore. So you can as well visit our social media at Aussizz Group in a Facebook. We have TikTok, we have Instagram. So because we're now a digital world, so you can find us everywhere. Now let's start. Let's talk about the process. So again, as mentioned earlier, if you want the process, either you are onshore or you're offshore, if you happen to be on a visitor visa in Australia and you want to convert it to student visa, you can send your CV or resume for offshore. And for the onshore aspirants, you can come and or call us or visit us in one of our offices. Then the second step, we can help you with your admission process. We can get you an offer letter. Now, what is offer letter? To those who are not students yet, we get you offer letter that contains the course, the name of the course, the duration of the course, the cost of the course, and the guidelines of the course. And if you're happy to accept the offer for any course you intend to do in aged care or community sector, then if you're happy to accept it, you can sign the offer and pay the initial payment, and we can get you confirmation of enrollment. So once you have the confirmation of enrollment, then if you require a visa application, the next step will be doing the free the visa application. It is free visa process for those onshore aspirants, and we do for offshore process as well, but just a minimal charge for those offshore. And of course, the last stage, if you happen to be in Australia and or you already have your visa grant, you can just enjoy your journey studying your course in this field. And while studying, you can also embark to employment to be part of the community or aged care sector. Right. So what are the requirements if you happen to be onshore? For those who are onshore, already host a student visa, doing any other courses, and you want to shift into more beneficial for you because you are aiming of something better that is the permanent residency. Of course, you can contact us and we can assist you on how to get things done. Just a very basic initial requirements. Of course, you should be a high school year 11 or year 12 graduate. Even if you're a bachelor degree graduate, you can definitely do this course as well. Of course, the visa copy if you are onshore, passport copy, your CV. English requirement varies with nationality or origin country. Again, there are assessment level 3 countries that they are required to provide English requirement, but there are assessment level 2 country as well, like Philippines, that English requirement is not really mandatory doing vocational level courses. So that's why in my slide, it says depending on the assessment level of your country or your origin country. So financial capacity, again, not mandatory to all nationality, depending to what assessment level of your country. So completion certificate and transcript of any study completed in Australia. So these are just the basic requirements should you wish to enroll if you happens to be onshore. Now for the offshore aspirants, how to start, of course, again, send me your CV or send us your CV or your resume. High school graduate, year 11, year 12, even you are a degree holder, passport. So basically, whatever on the screen, these are just the basic requirement. But for offshore applicant, mandatorily, you need to have a statement of purpose. Why you intend to do this course, why you want to study in Australia. So you have to have a justify why you wanted to come in Australia to study this course and what benefit of this course. But writing your SOP, we are your expert to guide you along the way on how to get a better statement of purpose to get an admission. So basically, this is just all about my presentation about the basic courses for aged care, individual support, and disability support courses, and of course, community services, because I believe you are more after with your permanent residency questions, and of course, it's pathway. So I will now be handling the floor to Mr. Dharminder Singh to take over for the permanent residency pathway of the course I just mentioned. Okay, Dharminder?
Loud and clear, Mechelle. I'm just sort of watching this presentation from you. I'm trying to figure out, now I'm going to put my share screen. A lot of people showed up, 79 people. Thank you for the presentation. That was very, very informative. So let me just go and share my screen very quickly down here. Let's just see how challenged we are. Now, where am I going to go with this thing here? Just give me a second, people.
Go to your mic. There's a share button.
Share content, right? Include share. Yeah. This one here, isn't it?
Take the image and it should be fine.
No, hang on. This is fun. I practiced this and I don't know why this is.
You're doing well, sir.
Screen, yeah, I want to share. Where is the stuff that says? Oh, this is funny. Just bear with me. This is live. Goodness me. Share screen, yeah.
That's okay. I guess you got it. There you go.
Okay. Give control to.
Just to break the ice, it's winter here in Australia, and looking at your screen, it's quite summery.
This is crazy, man. Sorry, man. I'm just not able to find the PowerPoint to share it with. So let me just go. You guys can see me loud and clear. Obviously, you can hear me, which is the main thing, right?
I can see you if you can hear me. Yes.
Yep. Cool. That this is not fun. I am unable to pull out the PowerPoint presentation down here, so I don't want to lose anybody down here. 79. I got a lot of interesting stuff to share from you, with you about the whole process. Just bear with us for a minute and a half or two while I figure out this thing that was just there. I'm going to share my screen. Where's the PowerPoint presentation here? This is bizarre. I see you very clearly.
I can see it too. Can I help you with that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Will you be using the same slide you used from the past? Because I have that one. I can share it to you.
The PowerPoint slides, right? So just one second.
Yeah, the one that you used from the past.
No, I've saved it down here. Just hold a second for a second.
So while you are trying to figure out to share your screen, maybe what I can do is like to answer some questions if we have some questions here.
So again, questions from your presentation while I just saw this thing out at the same time.
Yeah, so try to.
Let's improvise.
That's okay, very good, sir. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we are doing the aged care, individual support, and disability support courses option. So to those students who are joining our live session for today, if you happen to have a family member who are still offshore in your origin country, so we can definitely help to process with a student visa to come here to Australia to start with. And of course, working on the residency pathway, it can be worked on while you are onshore. So somehow being onshore is quite an advantage. It would say like a home court advantage, because you are already onshore rather than being offshore. So because it requires minimum work experience onshore to be eligible for permanent residency for this aged care and community sector. So again, just to have a rough idea of what Mr. Singh will be discussing eventually after she'll figure out to share the screen. Again, effective July 1, Australian government alongside with the community sector in Australia will be under a labor agreement that it will be employment sponsorship for or working visa sponsorship to be eligible to transition to 186 ENS, transitioning to permanent residency.
Mechelle, sorry to interrupt you. So I'm just going to jump right in, and I think I've got it. Okay, so here we go.
Perfect. There you go.
Let's see. All good?
I guess that's it.
Is everybody can see this?
We can see it clearly, sir.
Okay, cool. So we are.
Take it away.
Yeah. Can everybody see this? All good?
All good, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So let's just start straight away. Thank you very much once again, Mechelle, and thank you all of those people who have signed in and what have you. And as my very wonderful colleague has just finished describing that entire studies pathway, onshore, offshore. So my name is Dharminder, and one of the migration agents here based in Perth, which today, by the way, in fact, was 1 degree. But I'm getting all heated up down here. I was just trying to figure out this thing. So let's just get straight into the community service and PR pathways, which a lot of you are very, very excited about. So let's get cracking on that. I've got a lot of information, and I'm going to talk about pathways, whichever states you are. I get a lot of questions whenever I present this. People will be saying, well, I'm in Tasmania, or I'm in Canberra, or wherever you are. What is the pathway? Hold all those questions, because anything and everything I'm going to be saying today on the 27th of June is all going to be subject to change. Not all of it, but some of it in terms of the new changes that has been announced by the minister about a month and a half or 2 ago. Some changes pertaining to salary, some changes pertaining to occupational list. All these questions are very popular by a lot of our viewers, wherever you may be, okay? So I'm going to get cracking on that. You will see some slides. I won't read every single thing because I'm going to run through an overview with you, but let's keep more time for some Q&A, okay? So without further ado, let's go topics to cover. Like I said, popular occupations that my colleague has already highlighted in terms of what can happen. By the way, everybody can still hear me all loud and clear, yeah? Or am I just talking to myself?
Yes, sir, we can see you. It would be good if you can do it in a full screen.
Oh, okay, is it not in a full screen? Okay, so
no, not yet.
Let's go into the full screen mode. Well, I thought it should be in a full screen mode. Is that better?
That's it.
Yep. Okay. All good. So this is what we're going to be covering. PR pathways. We'll save that afterwards. So the key occupations that really are very, very popular for this is exactly that. You guys can read these. Just remember at the very end, what you need to pay attention is which occupation is on the MLT SSL, meaning the medium to long-term skills list. That's very particularly important if you're looking at an occupation that perhaps is for the 189 list, but majority of it is all on the short-term list. Doesn't make a difference as long as we get an occupation, which we will tell you based on the units or the courses that you have chosen from what Mechelle has described. Then we can then seemingly go and find out whether or not you can get not only registration, but you meet the eligibility requirement for the all-important skills assessment, which correspondingly would be the assessing body called EQA. Okay. Now, here.
Sir, can I stop you? Someone says slides are not visible.
Slides are not visible. Is it visible to you, Mechelle?
It's visible to me.
Okay.
But if someone says the slides are not visible. Slides are visible and working out. I think it's good. Maybe technical difficulties by the audience. You can keep on, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, cool. All right. So anyway, I mean, if at all that person has got any issues with perhaps some things, or he wanted or she wanted some questions, that's when they can get in touch with us after the sessions, which is the beauty of what we do, and hence why I enjoy doing this conclave at the same time. So in general, PR pathways and process, like I said, depending on which field that you studied, depending on what occupation that you finally get an assessment done, you got to be mindful of correspondingly whether you want to go by the GSM, which is General Skill Migration for the 189, 491, and 190, or if you are perhaps more interested to get into an employer section, which is what is very popular, very, very popular, I might say, for aged care, which is I'm going to be talking after this slide in terms of meeting the employer-sponsored visa, and or for the direct entry stream at the same time, which has got very, very relaxed requirements for meeting the eligibility requirement, which we'll talk about shortly. I'm very excited to talk about that. So jumping straight on, like I said to you, there's a lot of information down here. So just remember, what are we talking about? Welfare Center Manager. Now, this is a snapshot. While you're listening to me, just pay attention to qualification requirement, English requirement, and employment requirement. This will be replicated for about a series of 4 or 5 slides in terms of really understanding, do you firstly not just seemingly have experience with it, but do you have qualifications? And the qualifications and the assessment that you finally do are post-qualification, and bear that in mind. The English requirement is a flat 7 each in your reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Now, if you don't have that, it's going to be challenging. This is for that particular occupation, just bear that in mind. A lot of people fail to understand one of the things, perhaps, Mechelle, you have touched upon. We get a lot of queries from a lot of students who have finished studying, and then they come up to us when we talk about PR pathways. They go, oh, I finished my studies, and then why is it that my assessment became negative? And then knowing behold, they find out that they have not studied an accredited program, the part that you highlighted very, very clearly. And that becomes a shock to them because they really don't know, nobody told them. Or worse still, they are deemed to have not had a curriculum within their program that meets ACWA's requirement, which where a lot of this thing fails. And what's even more sad is that the assessment can take up to 3, 4, 5 months. Can you imagine you finish studying, you've applied something that's not accredited, you're going to get a refusal after 5 months. You've lost time. It's not the money here. You've lost time, and that can change a lot of things at the same time. So be mindful before you study, let alone before you apply for an assessment. Come see us. Really, this is what this is all about. We are doing what is it called, Mechelle? We are doing community service, presenting community welfare courses. How good is that one, right? So let's just understand that part, okay, for that. Now, so welfare worker is a popular course. Now people begin to realize that, I've studied 2 years, or I've done a bachelor's, or I've done a diploma leading to a bachelor's, whatever that composition might be. Just remember again, the last part, the employment requirement. If it is ACWA accredited, then you don't need for work experience because they feel that you have sufficient industry experience, but you need to be mindful of where and what you studied for 2 years. Again, a lot of information. Some of you might already know this. I don't want to spend too much time highlighting this, but I want to just jump into community worker, which is a popular thing a lot of people ask. Says, I've studied something. Why? Because I hear community worker is popular. Yes, it is, but guess what? If it is not ACWA accredited, diploma or higher, if you don't have 7 each, and most importantly, when it comes to the employment requirement, you need to still show, if it is not accredited and if you don't have the relevant stuff, you need 1 year of post-qualification experience. a lot of people finish the studies and they go, oh, I can't even find a decent job, let alone in that field. So that's when it happens. If it is not ACWA accredited, then you are stuffed in the sense that you can't do many things when that happens, right? Then you really got to go and work and meet the requirements what ACWA finds it important. Now, again, Disability Services Officer, these are all very popular courses. Why? Because it's got a huge funding right now. I think that what you mentioned at the same time, hence why it's very, very popular. So remember, it's not about just choosing the course of study that they have done initially, but if they want to go into disability support officer or youth worker or any of those, they need to make sure that they've actually studied those components. They've chosen those fields before they go for any kind of assessment. Because what does ACWA look at? And I'm happy repeating this for the 4th time. ACWA wants to see whether it's accredited. Do you have curriculum placement for those particular areas in which you studied that meets their requirements? It's a bit stringent, some say unfair, but hey, hence why you need to meet all of those things. And if you don't have, in some cases when you don't have, it's okay. Then they either need you to work for 1 year or worse still, 2 years before you can get an assessment. Now just picture this. If you've studied, you then get into a graduate visa, which is a 2-year visa right now, or that's also going to change, by the way, it becomes 18 months in some cases, right? So that is the time that you use to then work in an industry, use that time, get that qualifications, get the work experience, apply it on that basis, and then you have probably a very little short window left before your visa runs out to be having a successful skills assessment, applying the EOI, and then, which I'm going to talk about shortly, before you are finally invited, okay? So this again, it's all occupations, a family support worker, welfare worker, we've spoken about that. I don't want to go into this. I just prepared this just in case somebody had a question so I can refer to, okay? So residential care officer, very few people finally get a job in that because you really, really got to be pretty solid in that sense. Youth worker is popular. I'm just going to jump through, and this is what I want to talk about because a lot of people have questions about this, Mechelle. So basically, when you have studied, chosen the right course, come to us, you've finished your assessment, you've worked or you've had curriculum placement and everything else is good, and you have some time left on your visa and your points. You guys already know this. A lot of you guys are experts about this. So this category is exactly how they start counting the points. Now you would need seemingly 65 if it is for welfare center manager, because it's a medium to long-term skills list. But the 190 and the 491, which are popular visas for state-sponsored, be mindful that at the moment 190 only needs 60 points raw score of your own before you add 5 from the state, and then 491 only needs 50. But this is just basically the breakdown of how points are calculated. Whilst talking, I'm sure you guys have already seen that. Now, this is, again, across the board. It kind of makes it easy for people to say, oh, well, I'm in Queensland or I'm in, South Australia. How does it work for? It's a bit of an eyeful, but just look at where, as we speak today, that's where the information is, which is all going to perhaps change based on the quota some of the states are going to be given in the next few months that's coming. And again, the requirements might change a little bit with regards to that. However, I can put my hand on my heart and tell you this: community work, nursing, and all of that kind of stuff, it's all popular. It's going to be sticking around for some time. So don't feel whatever changes that you hear or you read about that suddenly everything is just going to go Armageddon, it's the end of the world. No, it's not. You are in the right place, right time. Just be patient, okay? Now, okay, like I said, a lot of information to get into. If you're onshore, offshore, this is a lot of information. If some of you are smart enough, if you have been observant, and as the screen is being moved from place to place, if you wanted to take your phone out, if you wanted to take screenshots of this, be my guest, because that's why I prepared this for you. You can take this, look at it, and if it's applicable to you because you're in Victoria, fine, take it. If you have a question, you email me, let me know, because then it's easier. Because I don't think so I want to use this platform to go into, bit by bit dissecting that. So I hope you guys understand what I mean when I say I've prepared this for you. You can take screenshots of this. I have no problems for those who can see this, Mechelle, unlike the other person who said it was not visible or anything like that. So I can speak very openly about WA because that's where I am in Western Australia. I have been here for the last 35 years. It's the best place people come down to WA, okay? So if you wanted to, so this is the kind of stuff that you can go into and have a look. South Australia, very interesting. You know, they have got various funny requirements about you needing to be there, or you are inner or outer Adelaide and greater Adelaide and all that funny requirements. So WA doesn't have that. So once again, Queensland, I'm just running through. So hopefully people don't mind that, because I want to get to the other part, which is the main part I want to talk about, which is the aged care process to PR pathway, right? This is equally good, right? This is all subject to change in the coming months based on the quotas that they're going to get. I think my colleague Mechelle has already highlighted why this is really, really important, aside from the fact that, you know, there's a high growth sector and the funding and what have you. It's literally recession proof. No matter what happens, you know, up or down, economy, sideways, whatever, there is going to be demand within the community sector. And I know this. I've been here, I've been around to understand that a lot of the times people they have this difficulty of, you know, I mean, being very honest down here. Some people just says, I want to study something that gets me a PR, full stop. Fair enough. Or then there are some people who says, no, I like this. I empathize. I got this. But, you know, my family have worked in this sector, and I really want to give something back. Depending on whichever you look at it, my third bullet point is exactly that. It is a rewarding career. Okay, so this is something that you can really go into. You give them as much as you get back, but at the same time, you get a PR that can just be a bonus, I suppose, in the scheme of things. So it's very rewarding in that context, right? So if you think this is something that you know, interests you, and you have a particular question, or if you're just starting out, or you're already halfway into, you want to make the transition, what Mechelle was saying, make sure you meet the requirements. Make sure that not only changing the course, but what I said earlier on, if some of you are paying attention, the fact that you will need 7 each to eventually get the skills assessment. So that's where a lot of people struggle. They get 5.5, 6, 6.5. It's in all. So if you think you're okay in that department and you want to do the switch, this is what you would do. Don't be alarmed. This is just one slide, so I'm gonna leave this slide and bring the other slide in there. It's not a Q&A just yet, because now I want to talk about the other one here, which is the aged care. Okay, so let's get cracking on the aged care. Now I'm so quick with this. Look at that. Early on, I had a little bit of a problem, right? Okay, so let's talk about aged care. So how are we doing with regards to just sort of having an idea from people? Maybe some we still got the numbers there. Mechelle, everybody is good, all good? Yeah. Okay. Let's get cracking on this. This was announced just about a month and a half or month ago. This is very exciting, very new stuff. As I said to you, this is really, really important. If you are already in aged care, or you've done a Certificate 3, only a Certificate 3, not even a diploma or a degree or anything like that, and you happen to be working, okay? And if you need an employer, reminder here, this is to work and have an employer sponsor you. It's got nothing to do now with skills assessment, which we will have to do, but it's got nothing to do with 189, 190, and 491. This is now narrowing it down to people who are already here, who may have done another course of study, but just so happen to have been working in aged care through a Certificate 3. And then now, knowing behold, they realize, oops, there is a demand. Not an immediate demand, but has been building up. So they've realized, they've listened to the people, they've listened to their employers. They now realize that this is what they're going to do for people who want to transition into a 482, which is an employer-sponsored visa. Or if you have 2 years of experience, you go to a 186, which is a direct entry. So in other words, you really, instead of working for the employer previously for 3 years, you work with them for 2, bingo, PR. But just a quick distinction, 482 is an employer-sponsored visa. If you have 1 year of experience, which I'll have the slides afterwards as well. So if you have 1 year of experience and you are working for them, you need an employer. The employer needs to sponsor you. The employer needs to make sure they go through some steps. I have the slides, and I want to use this moment for full attention down here for my audience to understand that the salary threshold at the moment is 53,900. Today is the 27th of June. In 4 days' time, that is going to jump. So if you have, and if you're already working, if your employer is happy to pay you that much, remember, that's important. Now, how do you go about this? Okay, because this particular sector has been deemed and given some means, if you like, to go and get a formal agreement between the employer and the Australian government, which allows the employer then to say, this is why there is a critical shortage, and you need to have that from the sponsor if you are from overseas or if you are already down here. And I'll explain that to you. So that process is you need an employer first. If you're already working for someone, that employer needs to have a labor agreement in place before they can sponsor you. So that's why ever since we did a seminar in the city, Mechelle, about I think a month ago, floodgates open, everybody was like, oh, I've been working for 2 years, 3 years, and then they realized that, oops, the employer doesn't have a labor agreement. And then you need to have, the very few people who actually have that. We'll go into that detail shortly, okay? So now, as I think what Mechelle has already mentioned, it's a lower skill requirement. That doesn't mean that Certificate 3 is considered lower, but it's basically the need to fill into this particular sector, right? English language requirement is also lower, lower income requirement at the moment, but then again, that all has changed, and priority processing application, which is really, really good, right? So now, as I was saying to you, which is a very popular question that a lot of us will be getting is, how do you access the labor agreement, okay? So this is what you need to get into an MOU with these 3 relevant industry unions, the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Federation, Health Services Union, and United Workers Union. These were the very people who were instrumental in making sure that if we wanted to get them in, that they did not suffocate the existing pool of people within the, whatever sector, wherever you are in Australia. So then you need to demonstrate from the employer standpoint that, yes, that's the reason why I need these people. So these are the people that you need to go to, not you, but the employer needs to go to get the labor agreement in place before we can look into all these occupations that I have put down there, which is a nursing support worker, personal care assistant, aged or disabled carer. They have a different stream altogether, like what I spoke to you earlier on about the 190, 491, and 189, right? So if that's making sense, and if you think you are already working, don't worry about the title that you have at work right now. Worry about the job duties and responsibilities that we will talk about probably another time, and that's when you can then fill in the gaps to make sure that you are one of these people down here. So as I already said to you, it's a 3-stage process. To simplify literally in those 3 bullet points, you got to have a labor agreement. After that, you need to be nominated, and after the nomination, simply a visa application, right? Now, how does this thing transition to? So if it's pathway 1, if you are already, or if you are not, perhaps maybe you're a student and if your visa is running out, but you've worked with that employer and you have a Cert 3, pathway 1 is fantastic, because then you approach the employer and say, hey, an employer likes you as well. The employer wants to keep you. If you have a 1-year work experience, then you are on a 482 employer-sponsored visa. Please listen to this, is the most important announcement, right? 482 has got no age limit to go on a 482, but you can just keep getting that extended for whatever period of time, but it does not lead to a PR. However, the 186 is the one that leads you to a PR. The 186, where previously you needed to work 3 years with the employer, now they brought it down to 2, but the 186 has the age limit of 45. So you must remember that. Now, if you are above 45, then you can just work, you can be with a Cert 3 work and you can keep working, but it doesn't lead to PR. It's the important thing down here. Now, qualifications, I think you guys already know, they just need a Cert 3 or higher. And like I said to you, that's above in rate. The tag says 12 months of relevant full-time work experience or equivalent part-time. Skills and qualifications, it's all there for your knowledge. Now, if you have work experience overseas, how a lot of people are finding this gray area of how do you go and get your skills assessment? Your skills assessment is also done by ACWA, but if you go to the ACWA website now, pardon the pun, but they have disabled that link. Okay, so you would find that information is going to be updated soon on the ACWA website. So they will tell you how, for people who have got that, and how do you go about that. So I can't really discuss that right now because the information is not available. Okay, however, they're going to update the website very, very soon. So like I said, there's no minimum levels of post-qualification work experience that needs to be met to satisfy the 482. Now, how good is that? All right, so basically, you just need to have your Cert 3, all right? Now, English language, I think we talked about how previously all the other occupations needed to get 7 each. Here, they brought it down significantly to 5 overall or equivalent, okay? So they've mentioned down there, so if you are culturally and linguistically diverse, if you are in that particular thing, they brought it down even further. So that's equally good. Now, like I said, there's no age limit to apply for this visa because it's a temporary visa for work visa. Pathway 2, let's talk about that. You got to have relevant AQF 3 or higher, and you need to put a labor agreement in place. Very, very important. And at the same time, you must have full-time 2 years of experience in direct care, otherwise you're going to have difficulty. And it need not be tied to one particular employer. You could have several employers, but you've got 2 years of experience, bingo. So like I said, there's no other component minimum requirement. They just need 5.5 or equivalent, you are in. All right, so pathway 2, did I talk about? Yeah, there is a limit, right? So I did talk about that. That's 45 years of age. Nil requirement for advertising. So this is important. This is where a lot of people, and the employers, a lot of my clients have rung me, put a 3-way conference with them, the employer and me. I don't mind taking those calls if your employer is uncertain or if you are uncertain. Previously, you needed to go and show that you've done labor market testing, you've advertised the positions for a month in 3 different mediums. You must show why you are special and all of that. That's all. I mean, you are special, don't get me wrong, but the nomination part have been reduced in terms of demonstrating the labor agreement. The labor market testing. So once again, but you need to make sure that the MOU that you have with the union, that kind of now meets the requirement for the labor market testing, if that makes any sense to you. At the moment, that's also very, very good because a minimum of 51,222 or whichever is higher. So meaning that if that employer already has someone in place working for that amount, if they want to pay you higher, that's fine, okay? But they cannot pay you lower, pretty much. This is what I'm trying to say to you based on your experience. Now, Aussizz education qualification, I think we've already mentioned that to you. We pretty much have got partnerships left, right, center in aged care, disabled care, nursing support. Talk to our very friendly education consultants, not just like Mechelle. Talk to any one of them that you find, at least engaging enough for you to ask those questions, which I'm sure, all of them are. And we'd be more than happy and delighted to tell you what you need to know. On that note, I'm going to stop this sharing. I'm going to just break open to this Q&A. Hopefully, still got people jumping up and down and excited with this. Let me just stop this, come out from here, and close this down here. How are we doing? We still have 84. We increased the number from 79 to 84. So I guess we've got engagement. I'm happy for...
Stop the sharing, sir. That's okay.
So question, I think the moderator might just jump in and ask some questions perhaps. people may have been holding themselves back, and I do appreciate you going through these. I do appreciate that you've actually joined in, you've taken the time and effort to listen to both me and Mechelle. Let us know.
Right, that was very much informative, sorry, Dharminder. So just to sum it up a little bit, so for aged care, individual support, and disability support worker, once you have any of those qualifications, you may be eligible for the 482 or in working visa, and you have to have an employer. And if you already have work experience plus qualification, you're eligible for 182. Right. So, and for the community services sector, there are many providers that runs diploma of community services courses, but they are not ACQUA accredited. Unfortunately, you cannot get registration, just to put emphasis on that one, and it will not make you eligible for permanent residency pathway. So make sure once doing diploma community services courses, your provider or the course itself should be ACQUA accredited for you to be eligible, just to make it sure.
So exactly, Mechelle. So a lot of people, they find this thing a bit too late after they've already finished the course, something like that, because ACQUA has made it very clear. If it's not accredited, then you need to meet different requirements. It's not the end of the world, but why subject yourself to that when you can ask the right questions now, make sure you met the eligibility requirements, and you can proceed accordingly. So if any one of you have got any particular questions, whether deciding which course to choose, how much, and this and that, usually when people tune in, they get a lot of information from, oh, what do I do? I'm sure someone would probably put our information out there. Then if you have a question to do with education, like you go to any of the consultants, but if you have a question to do with the migration process, the PR process, feel free. So, I mean, I'm sure they will have some information out there. So my name is Dharminder Singh. So I'm based in Western Australia, obviously with Aussizz group at the same time. Mechelle is my colleague there with regards to the education part of things. Very proficient, very happy. Sometimes away from this medium that you have a question, more than happy to take the questions
we
offline.
Have a question. Yeah. I'll take the question you answer. This is coming from Delani. I am an international nursing graduate, now following Master of Nursing in Australia, but it is not direct to get registrations in AFRA. So can I follow this course to get pathway?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you're overseas grad, you know that unless you go into getting your nursing part, which is, if you don't do the conversion program, you're never going to get that happen. But this is the beauty of it all. This is exactly where a lot of nurses are then filling in the gaps by working Cert 3, working for a year, getting the experience, getting the employer at the same time. And guess what? If you've done this for 2 years, happy days. That's a PR pathway, as opposed to, no disrespect to the nurses who are doing their conversion program, but this is for that purpose in all those things that we talk about for aged care. Perfect.
So that would mean any qualification, as long as you jump and to have this one, certificate for courses, you're
certificate
good.
3, exactly.
So next question. I have done my BBA from India. What is the scope and eligibility? Will I be eligible for community services course if I am offshore?
I think that's your question, So
right. Okay. So what is BBA? Bachelor of Business Administration. That's coming from India. So if you hold bachelor degree business administration coming from offshore, to answer to your question, yes, you can possibly get a Bachelor of Community Services to get to Australia first, to gain entry to Australia, but at least you have to have at least motivation why you are doing the course. Let's say, for example, you did BBA, but you are not working in the community sector. Then you have to justify why you are converting into community sector. So you have to have at least good motivation for you to explain better yourself why you should be granted to be in a community sector. So,
right.
But
this is where they have to demonstrate that they're a genuine temporary entrant. You've got to write a proper GTE, which is all okay. You could say, I have a career change plan. You just justify that. Happy days.
COVID-19, that's perfect. Like, because that could be your motivation. So to answer your question, yes, even you're offshore, you can be eligible. We just have to assess your whole profile, and then you can send us an email, and then we can discuss further.
Cool.
Okay, so one more. How much experience is required for a community service degree, and under what title for acquiring a residency?
See, community service degree. So if you've done a degree and if it's accredited, I think you only need to show either 3 months of additional work experience if it's accredited, right? If it is not, then I think I got written down here. I got my cheat list. Funny enough, I had my cheat list right down here. Then it's a 1 year experience. It's got to be related. And what 𝐸𝐴𝐻 is very particular is that even though, I want to say this, if 𝐸𝐴𝐻 you're listening, watch me say this now. Even though they've been accredited, what 𝐸𝐴𝐻 is very particular is that people who have the work experience, they want to see the level of work experience. Is it level 4 or 5? Meaning you're going to have some degree of responsibilities and seniority before they deem that's okay. So be very careful of that. So if you're not certain, please speak to me. I'm happy to clarify that and give you samples of how you need to go about doing this too.
This is a good question, sir. Hi, I will start my Diploma of Community Services 2 years, ACWA accredited next month. Congratulations. After I finish my course, can I lodge immediately my skills assessment? And will I have a TR and how long it is? Or any steps that I should take after the 2 years course?
So she wants everything in one package. This is good.
All of the question.
No, we should just sums up exactly what you and I have been talking about. This person has chosen the right course, have finished the studies, you're eligible for your TR. During your TR, you're also now eligible for your skills assessment, by the way. Why? Because you just mentioned the keyword accredited course. You can go and apply, and then you can use that. Now, if that comes back negative for whatever various reason, because your curriculum, your placement is what they are looking at now. So if you're uncertain, this is what I would say live. I would say this really. If you're uncertain, don't apply yet. If you have time during your TR, go and work 3 months. It doesn't hurt you. This occupation, this list is not going to run away. This sector is not suddenly going to freeze and disappear, all right? It's going to be there. Finish your studies, go and get your TR, you've got work experience, go and get. They are going to say, wow, this person has got TR, accredited studies at the same time, plus has got 3 more months of work experience. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to incentivize you. You write some killer, brilliant reference letters from your employer and whatnot, because 𝐸𝐴𝐻 knows the community sector well enough. You will get an assessment, trust me.
In short, do it slowly but surely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Everything in this profile is tick, tick, tick. Done.
Take away.
Okay. So next one, what if someone has RPL and experience as a community support worker for more than 3 to 4 years, but not 𝐸𝐴𝐻 registered course?
So that's going to be a tough one though, because if you're not 𝐸𝐻 registered, I think that's a sort of gray area, because then how are they going to assess someone? Doesn't matter whether you have an RPL, right? So I think you can put that back to the assessing body and tell them that, hey, I'm not just not accredited. I'm not 𝐸𝐻 registered course. How are they going to justify that? Because remember the 3 components: education, experience, and English proficiency. So you need to meet all of that. So this question is more of whether if it's not 𝐸𝐻 registered. I'm happy to take that question offline. You and I can both deliberate about that and get back to this person.
All right, thank you. Another question, what's the meaning of provisionally accredited, sir?
Okay, good question. So provisional is what provisional says. You see people driving around in Australia, P, it's a P plate. It's provisional, you don't have a full license, isn't it? So hence why if you have a provisional assessment, it's not regarded anywhere with regards to meeting the requirements to get a full skills assessment or application for future PR. So you need a full skills assessment. Provisional is not going to cut it. In other words, provisional is temporary. Yeah.
Right. I will add on to that question in line with the education sector. I mean, in the education part, there are education providers that are partially accredited. That would mean their accreditation is still pending, waiting for full accreditation.
Yep.
So if you are doing a course that with your provider is still provisionally accredited, then you might not be eligible.
Correct.
For the registration. So make sure if you're doing a course enrolled in a provisionally accredited, it should be a full accredited course and full accredited education provider for you to be eligible for the registration afterwards.
Absolutely, spot on. And can I just simply quickly say, I love the questions coming through. That's brilliant, which is really why I've run through all the slides at the same time, is that even though people are fully accredited, the assessing body still has issues with the curriculum that college placed them. So be mindful of that. Don't just think, oh, I'm in a fully accredited course and I finished thing and he's going to get assessment done. They're very, very particular, right, Aqua? Carry on. Questions?
So a few more questions because we don't have much time. Okay. But again, for any inquiries, it doesn't stop in the session. We are definitely reachable after the session, unlimited time and any time of the day.
Absolutely.
If I work as a youth worker, can I get ACWA registration? Does it comes community worker pathway? Have we answered this question?
No, I don't think so. You see, because if you worked as a youth worker, and then you must go and see that particular distinction that ACWA has already given very clearly on their website. You know, they've got the 5 or 6 occupations. They've got this hyperlink. You click on that. You must have worked in that, and they also want to see that you've actually maybe specialized and you've taken some units in that for you to be deemed into that category that you want to get assessment done. So be very, very careful of that. All I can say is that, just be careful of that. That's all.
All right. We have a very quite interesting interaction.
Okay.
Okay. I guess we'll just few more questions, 1 or 2.
You decide. I mean, I'm happy to take questions.
Our moderator gave us extra 10 minutes, so we're good. I have 3.
Talking. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I am Namita Tamang. I am on a student visa. I am working as a disability support worker since September 2022, almost 1 year now. If I couldn't get an employer who sponsored me, can I apply after 1 year for 186? I guess this is a very straightforward question, sir.
Yeah, but 186 requires you to have 2 years of experience. So if you don't have 2 years, which is where the PR comes in, and you're below 44, 45, and you've got all of that, you really need an employer, and that employer needs to have an MOU with one of the 3 unions that we talked about. That's your labor agreement. Then if you've got time, if your visa allows you, then you need to have those 2 years instead of 3 years of experience.
That's correct. So Namita, to quickly answer your question, to be eligible for 186, you need to have minimum 2 years work experience in Australia. If you don't have the employer yet, and your visa is expired.
With any number of employers.
Yeah. If you don't, because you are on a student visa, if you don't have employer yet and your student visa is expiring soon, then you need to have another substantive visa to remain in Australia. Then we can apply you for another course just to buy time. So we education consultants at Aussizz Group can help you to get you another student visa just to buy time until such time you can find an employer. Am I correct, sir?
I love the advice that you're giving, Mechelle. I want you to come and work with my office right now.
Okay, we'll talk that way. Okay. I guess I'll take this one last question. Hi, this is from Amal. I guess this is from Abu Dhabi. Hi, I have done my PhD in software engineering, and used aged care and healthcare centers as case studies. May I know if I go for GTE, how long will it take to get an answer for EOI? After PhD, I am working as a postdoctor, full-time contract at Australia. So he's
let me jump straight to that question. This person obviously he's got a PhD. He's talking about GTI, right? Not a GTE, right? So GTI is Global Talent Visa.
Okay.
It's a completely different thing. He's just jumped onto this particular platform, hopefully, perhaps because it's got to do with age care and whatnot. And if he's applied and if he's done all the right thing, he should be invited, depending on exactly all of that. So we don't want to use that opportunity right now. But he's talking about a global talent visa, which we can take offline. I'm happy to entertain that question later.
Send your query to Mr. Dharminder Singh. He is the best person to contact you. Harpreet, hi. Is the bachelor more beneficial than diploma of community services to get skills assessment from ACO?
No. Good. That's one of the best questions so far. Why?
Yes.
Because you could do a diploma leading to a degree, right? Yes. So if a diploma is from an accredited place, then that diploma will be deemed okay by ACWA. Okay, but if it is not, and you found out very late into your diploma, then carry on finishing the degree, and depending on what you finish, and depending on what line that you want to go into, the disability support worker, community worker, youth worker, then you need to make sure that you have post-qualification experience after your post-qualification, as it suggests. That's where it becomes tricky, because why? It's not an accredited course. So diploma leading to degree, if it is an accredited college, brilliant. 2 years, we can apply for this skills.
As long as registered, it doesn't matter what the level. You're spot on.
Absolutely.
One last question I will take. This is from Rizwan. I guess he is from.
Sorry, what's the question again? Sorry.
I will take this question because this is for education something. Coming from Abu Dhabi. Can a person on a tourist visa available onshore convert his visa to study visa plus 500 by enrolling to aged care or community service course? I have 3 months caregiver certificate as well from Abu Dhabi. Hi, Rizwan. Sorry, I missed your question above. He called my name, but this is for you. If you happen to have a tourist visa coming to Australia, guess what? It is your home court advantage. Coming firstly to Australia, bingo. You can do any course you want. We can find out, we can help you assess your qualification. And this has been my expertise from the last 6 years. So basically, to answer your question, yes, you can definitely do any aged care, individual disability courses or community services courses, converting your tourist visa to student visa. That's not a problem. Spot on. I guess we have a very good interaction for today. Again, to those questions that we have not catered for today, we have a very much limited time. But again, our offices is open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. wherever you are in Australia. If you happen to be onshore, come and visit our offices near you. We have 26 offices across Australia. If you happen to be offshore, contact our main web page. We have our Facebook, we have Instagram. Drop your query and it will be assigned. Send your CV, it will be assigned to the respective education consultant or to any of our migration agents if you require advice from our migration agent. I guess this has been a good session for today. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us until the end. Sorry, Dharminder, any
perfect. I think you've wrapped it up very well. Just want to say thank you very much for everybody who have tuned in. And once again, no question is a silly question. Get hold of us. It's 2023. You know how to find us. It's all on social media. Contact us and we'll let you know anything that's not answered today, not covered, needs a little bit more tweaking, more than welcome. And signing off from Perth, and thank you very much.
The question is wrong. There's no harm asking. If exactly. It will give you clarity. Contact Aussizz Group, any contact Aussizz Group representative. Thank you very much. This has been Mechelle.
Right now. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. Bye.